Well, g'day everyone. Welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. Finally, three-phase power reticulated through the shed. Makes me smile, I can tell you that. But while he was here, my mate Deleco said, "You've done a good job of telling people how to do things, but why don't you do something for a change and show us how?" And I felt a bit embarrassed, I suppose. I'm not really the instructor type, but anyway, now that I've got some machines to use, it's back onto the Clarkson style drill grinder and tap grinder jig. And luckily I fell across all of the parts while I was moving back in. Then we have the main column here with a little base in it. I'll bring you in a little closer shortly to have a look. This is the main body and the mounting parts. I've got to the point now where I have to chamfer off this cylinder, and as I said, I'll show you that up a little bit closer. All of this assembly will only ever get tack welded together in case it doesn't bloody work. It makes it much easier to cut it apart and reset the pivot angles, etc. But it should be reasonably easy. I don't know whether I'll be doing drawings for this, probably not, because it's a fairly simple build. You can see what it looks like through the eye of the camera here, and it all depends what scrap you've got in the box. No use making a set of drawings if you've got to go out and buy the material, and you've got similar items that you could use here free of charge. So I'll bring you in and show you what the workpieces are for this episode, and then we can get up on the mill and take a bit of material off. Okay, a bit of a recap for you. This is the main riser column. That's going to be welded on top of the base. And both will live on top of that base plate. Quite a simple fabrication job. That'll give me sufficient area to put a bush in there and a clamping bolt that'll be countersunk underneath the base plate, and I'll be able to rotate that to get the angles that I'll mark off for the different drill angles. You'll see the cylindrical body shortly. Cylindrical body will be put in there, welded along the back, and the two mounting ears will go either side of that part of the column. You don't have to have an enormous range of sweep on this. It'll work quite well with only about 25 degrees of rotation, I suppose. Okay, in the background, that's the spindle assembly with my index and collar at the back. You've seen that many times before, but that should be quite easy to get together. The works drawings, if you call them that, it's only just a rough old sketch. But you can see that that gives you the 20 degrees between the pivot point and the main body, and that's where you get the eccentric action to make it sweep. As I said, I've only used scrap off the heap here. And this is the main body. That's going to be bored through there for the main shaft. That is the cylindrical part that will be welded to the top of the column, and these are the two connector blocks. Now the cylindrical part has to be milled back at 20 degrees so that I can get that block down in contact, but it's all going to be just simple weldments, just a couple of big tacks. Now once that's welded on, I'll be pulling the assembly rod out. This will be welded to the column, and I think I'll tack it to these two blocks temporarily. And first of all, I'll put a bigger drill through there and then mount it up on a horizontal borer and bore it out to 16mm. I have some 16mm 4140 rod, which should do the job quite well. Now this distance here, although it's not critical, I'll be taking off the scale works drawing here and doing it this way, making a scale mock-up of what I measured off the drawings of the Clarkson grinder, gives me a rough idea on how to get the body assembled. Plenty of meat on that body, that's 50 odd mil across, and in one corner I'll be drilling in and tapping to put a handle on the bottom of it. All fairly easy work. If it doesn't come to fruition, it's just a bit of metal thrown in the scrap heap. I've lost not a lot except for a bit of time. Okay, a lot of yapping. I'll get that cylindrical body up on the milling machine and we'll take a few thou off it until it fits the body. Bye for now. Just thought I'd have a brainwave moment, give you a look at the underside. You can see on the left hand side the shorter block has been cut away, and once it's welded onto the main body, I'll be using the borer to drill into that so I can feed that right in a little bit further. But that gives you a better idea of why I have to chamfer the cylindrical part of the body. Okay, back soon. Well, it didn't take long to come up with a bad build error, and it's something I remember back a couple of months ago I'd thought about. This bit actually doesn't turn. These bits turn. So putting a chamfer on the end isn't going to help. I have to put a chamfer that goes around about 2/3 of the circle. So I'll probably mill about 8 facets and then just linish the rest off to get it reasonably round. But yeah, just going through and milling a flat wouldn't have helped a bloody iota. Being dyslexic doesn't help. Bye guys. Okay guys, not very good lighting this time round. I did shut the roller door to keep the sunlight out so the white balance wouldn't be buggered. I'm just taking very light cuts. I don't want to throw it out of the vise, but I think 5 or 6 cuts and I'll have it where I want it and just linish the rest off. It's pretty soft material, it's cutting very easy. Just taking a mill at a time. Doesn't take too long to get it where you want to go. I've put a rough Nico pen outline around where I want the material to come back to. Well, that'll be the fun, Reg. Hello. Well, that phone call was worthwhile. 2 pieces of cake and a cup of coffee. I'll have that any afternoon. Right, we'll wind it up a little bit more. We're just about done on this side. Wind it and slow. No, one more. Good thing about your own fabrication, it ends up being what you make of it. This is where the glasses are needed. The other glasses. Tell you what, this being retired's got something to say for it. I wish I could have done it many years ago. Have a quick check. Yep, that's near enough tight. Drop it down and start again. Okay. And away we go. You want to handle, Rich? Steady Eddie, we're in no race. Almost there for this side. A little bit more and that'll be well within the felt pen parameters. That's what I call it, felt pen fabrications. Very near is very close. Well, I have a few more facets to mill in there, but I'll see if I can zoom you up to have a look at that. You can get a rough idea what it's going to look like. A touch of the linisher and that'll be a very, very good half chamfer. Okay, bye for now. Bring you back for the next stop. Back again, guys, just a little bit of progress on this project. I've had the pivot point up in a milling machine, just roughly milling facets on a taper around it, roughly 20 degrees. And now, if that's rotated around, the two pivot blocks can now sit down flush on the body. I'll take this all apart now and linish a few more millimetres off that and get it a bit more rounded. Just rotates a few degrees. It's got to rotate about 25 or 30 degrees so the whole body can swing. The next thing will be to get rid of the mill scale, tack weld the brackets on with it pulled up reasonably tight on the pivot point, and then I can pull the mounting shaft out, take that out, weld it onto the frame assembly and get the whole affair up and almost running it. Once I've proved that pivoting concept, I'll then take the pivot pin out again, take this over to the horizontal borer and drill and bore it for 25mm and face the ends off and finish it up. But getting reasonably close to putting a welding rod to it, and as I've said before, I would like to get it reasonably close, but it doesn't have to be down to a couple of seconds. Within a degree or so would be good enough for this in principle to work. I would also like to break all edges, etc. I don't want something sharp and nasty, but we'll wait until we prove the concept, then I can go back and decorate it a little bit on the linisher and make it look a bit prettier. So far so good. Only a few bruises off the milling vise. Okay, I'll bring you back after I polish it up a bit. Well, we're going further along with this project. This is a look at the items just before I put them up onto the welding table and tack them up. Now, this Morse taper drift is just the right thickness to put alongside these two items and space them up off the table. I'll lay down on this face and put the first couple of tacks in from the other side. So I'll be able to clamp these blocks down onto the table reasonably tight, and I think I'll be able to get all the working clearances out. Now I'll show you the shape of this in a sec, but I've grounded the way with the linisher, the forgiver of all sins, to get around half a turn of movement out of it. Now I may have to take a little bit more out of that after the brackets are welded in, and I'll measure off my drawing over here to see how far back to step it, and I think that'll be accurate enough. But yep, now to have seen the assembly. And that tapered piece looks like it was almost bought for the job. Amazing what a linisher can do in a few minutes. And I was thinking, give a plug for Norton abrasives there. It's a Norton Blaze abrasive belt, which is a ceramic material, and it's been on that machine for about 7 or 8 years, to the point where the joint is probably dangerous, but the ceramic grain is still aggressive. Even though it's a 60 grit, which is medium, it takes the metal off fairly quickly and brings a rough milled item down to something that looks respectable and will do the job with a minimum of fuss. Okay, next setup will be just prior to welding. G'day again, just a very simple welding setup, clamped up reasonably tight for welding, and just remember these welds are not going to be too big, they'll just be elongated tacks, enough to hold it together and prove the principle, but also small enough to be broken apart if need be. And I've got that bit of 1/2 inch rod through both the brackets and the central pivot in case I have to pull it out. It's long enough to weld a bit of a handle onto. Okay, I'll get the tacks done. Well guys, a bit of a proud moment. Even the welds look acceptable, but it actually rotates around the pivot reasonably well. I've got to do a little bit of fettling in there and a little bit on the front of the support bracket. The whole assembly has shifted a little bit, but If you can imagine, the axis through here will have the chuck holding the drill or the tap on the front, and as you rotate the attachment down, the front of the drill will go up because these two axes converge about here. So any point in front of there will go up as this back part goes down. So handle in the top there. We're well on the way. Yoo-hoo! Please like and subscribe if this is of any interest to you. Bye now.